Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you back to Young Martin's Reels. Today's project is going to be a little bit different. Normally I take you guys through the entire teardown of fishing reels. This time we're going to do things a little bit different. We are going to do an assembly of a reel, and this reel came to me devoid of about 60% of its paint, and I contemplated leaving it as is and just doing a video on how to take it apart and clean it up, but it really needed a paint job in the worst kind of way. So I did do a color change on it. It used to be a gold color, and now it's kind of a bronzish copper color. I do that when I have to do a full repaint on reels. I've started kind of doing a color change on them, and the reason being, I don't want somebody further down the road to assume that a reel is all original when in fact it's not. So I tend to, if I'm going to do a repaint, I will go ahead and do a color change on it. And I don't think this is a bad looking look for this reel. As it is, I still forgot to paint this, so I've got to come back and paint the bottom of the reel. But we're going to go see about getting this back together. One of the things that I ran into is right here on this side over here, the screw that was in there had corroded inside the hole, and it snapped off. That's this one right here. And I took that and I re-drilled the hole, re-tapped it. Had to drill it out with a 2.05 millimeter drill bit, and then I used a 2.5 millimeter tap to tap that, and it seems to be working pretty good. So now that that's done, we're going to see if we can reassemble this Daiwa GS-6. And this is one that has been basically almost completely taken down. The only thing left that has not been taken apart is this roller, and the reason it is not is because that screw does not want to come out. It's all been lubed and everything, and the roller turns, but the screw doesn't want to come out, and rather than take a chance on breaking it, and since I can't get a replacement, I'm just going to leave it in place. And we'll put it all together and see where we go from there. I plan to be fishing this reel in about 2 weeks. It's going to go along with my GS-9 that I did the repaint on, and they're going to the coast with me in a few weeks. So let's see if we can get this reel back together. Okay, we're going to start off by reinstalling the anti-reverse override back into it. We're going to take the screw back out that's in it. This gets inserted back from the front side here like so, and just where it's getting ready to go through the case, I'm going to put some grease there and put some over here where it's going to go through, and that will help give us some lubrication on that in the years to come. All right, now what we've got here, this is not lined up properly because I've got this spring in here. This spring fell off of here and I put it back on, and it appears that I put it in upside down. So let's take it back out, and let's flip that spring around the other way, have it come up from the bottom like so. Okay, now when this goes in, it's got to go into this hole right here. So let's try to line it up. Like so, push it down like so, and then rotate it around, and that's going to hold it in place there like so. All right, now we want to put the cap on this end. We're going to hold that in place while we put the screw back in. There we go. And now that should hold spring tension as we move that spring back and forth, and it does. There you go. All right, the next thing we're going to put in is going to be the pinion. Here's the pinion gear. This is the bearing for it. And I've already oiled this bearing a few times, but we're going to oil it again. And then I'm going to grease the pinion gear. Install the pinion gear back into the case. Like so. There we go. Now, there is a cover that goes on here, and it will only fit one way, like so. All right, and it's held in by 3 screws. We're going to go ahead and put those 3 screws in. Okay, I had to go back in and edit this video and create a new video, or a portion of the video anyway, because there was a whole section that was cut out altogether. I had a phone call and somehow something happened and I never got the camera started again. So we're back to the reel. We're going to go ahead and install this part right here. This is going to be this bottom tooth right here. That is a clicker for when you're in anti-reverse. And the top one up here is your anti-reverse itself, okay? In the original video, I did not realize that there was supposed to be a shim washer right here. This reel originally didn't have one, and I had to go back and install one. So I found one the right thickness to do the job. Without that right there, what was happening is the anti-reverse, when you tighten down the nut, would not work. So let's go ahead now and install this gear. Next to be installed is going to be the anti-reverse. Now, if you look right here, let's see if I can zoom in for just a second. I hate to zoom because I keep forgetting to go back and take it off. There's 2 little teeth on this anti-reverse right here. See right there? You can't hardly see. There you go. Those are the 2 little metal fins, and they go on each side of that gear. Okay, so what you do, you come over here and you slide that up in there and get it started. Like so. Once you got it on there, then you can kind of rotate it around, and you might need to lift the gear up a little bit to get it to go over this post over here. Then sit your arm back down. Okay, now you might think that there's a spring that goes on here, and there's not, because I thought there was a spring that went on here, but there's not. We're going to put the screw in it now, and the tension of those 2 little fingers is what provides the spring action in this anti-reverse. Okay, now when the gear operates, you'll see that it pulls the anti-reverse back in. Okay, let's zoom back. I told you I was going to forget to zoom back out. All right, next to go in, and this guy is a little bit complicated to get in. There's our spring for our anti-reverse override. All right, this one is a little bit more complicated. Okay, first thing that goes in is this spring right here. And it goes in with this tag end facing up right here, because that's got a hook over top of the arm. But before you can do that, here's our anti-reverse clicker right here. It's got this little spring on the bottom of it right here. And this part right here, this is the clicker that rides on that gear I was just showing you underneath. Okay, and what you have to do is you got to take this and you got to get that little spring to hook over the top of this post right here, which is much easier said than done because it wants to pop up and over. every time you get it in position, it seems like. So it kind of helps to have a finger in there. There we go, got it in. Okay, then we're going to bring this up and bring it around and line up the hole right here. And we're going to put that screw in. And remember, this other spring does not get tightened down yet. It's just going to be free flowing. There we go. Tighten that down. And you got to wiggle it around so that the shoulder of it goes into the hole in the lever. I may have to, there we go. Okay. There we go. Got to move up and around. And then we'll take and tighten the screw down. Now with that screwdriver out. There's a very thin slot in this screw. So I've got a screwdriver that I've trimmed down and thinned out tremendously to make it fit that. Okay, now that spring is on. See how this little spring is on there? Okay, we've got that installed. And now this part, the little tag end, is hooked right here over the ledge. And then we're going to pull this up. We're going to take this spring up and put it around that post right there. Like so. Okay. At that point, I'm going to stop this film and we're going to go back to the original because I think that's where we got... No? Yeah, that's as far as we got. That's what part that was missing in the other video. So we're going to pick up here and move on to the other video. All right, got interrupted by a phone call. And let's get back to this. We are going to try to put this back together here. And we've got this spring right here. And its purpose in life is to sit right down in here. And like so. And I believe it's supposed to go with the short end down instead of the long end, like so. And it's supposed to sit in there like that. But we've got to get it set first by putting the tag end into this hole right here on the spring. There's the hole. And we're going to set that in place. Then we're going to rotate this back. There's a boss under here. See that shoulder or boss sticking out? That's got to go into this top slot. So we're going to set that in place with this in place, and it should just sit down onto here like that. And of course the spring is going to want to trap itself, and we will unhook the spring off of the side and get it back over here where it belongs. And with that in place, we should be able to put this plastic cap on, and then this screw back into the plastic cap. Like so. Okay, once that's done, when this is in this position, you should be able to bring this spring up and get the end of it into that hole like that. Okay, and if it's all riding properly, it should, yes, do like that. And when we put the cover on, the cover is going to hold that spring in the hole. So let's go ahead and put some grease in here because this spring has got to ride inside on here. And it's going to be on the cover. Like so. We'll slide this cover up under here. And it's not quite lining up with the hole. So let's, there we go. It lined up then as I moved it. Okay. Let's put the screw in. Okay. Now on this side, there's a balance weight that sits in here like so. And then this piece is going to go over the top right here. And it is the cover built into the setup. And then we'll put this screw in and screw it down. This one's long enough. There we go. Okay, and this reel is a slam bell style, so it's not going to have any kind of trip mechanisms or anything else. So we're going to go ahead at this point and oil along the pivots. We'll give another drink of oil to the roller bearing, and then we'll get a drop of oil on this side where it pivots. There we go. Now we're ready to set the rotor back on. And it's got a flat spot inside here, 2 of them, and they go on the flat spots over here of the pinion, like so. There we go. And we are missing the nut. Yep, there it is. Tighten that down. Okay. All right, on this side over here, we've got a bushing, a bronze bushing. Like so, we're going to fit that back in right there. And we're going to give it a little grease in there. And over on this side, we have our oscillation gear. And our oscillation gear is now going to get greased. Okay, then we're going to put the crosswind block in. Grease it. Slip it in. The flatter side goes forward, like so. And let's go ahead and put some grease on the shoulder here where the slide is going to ride. That done, I'm going to go ahead and grease up the main gear. Slide the main gear in. Okay. Next is going to go the shim for the main gear. Then goes the bearing for the main gear, and I've oiled it once before, but I'm going to go ahead and oil it again. Spin it around a little bit. With the main gear back in, we can now put the axle shaft in. I'm going to go ahead and oil the axle shaft. A lot of stuff I've been greasing on this, and it's because it's going to be on the coast on salt water, but I really think I can get by, since I'll be taking it apart rather often, with just oiling this axle shaft. And now we've got to get the flat lined up inside the oscillation gear, or sorry, oscillation block or crosswind block. Line up the hole and install the screw. The axle shaft in, let's go ahead and rotate it a bit, make sure that everything, axle shaft goes up and down like it's supposed to. All right, let's go back and put the side case on. With that done, we're going to go ahead and put the handle on. Okay, this one has a collapsible handle. You push the button here, the handle folds down. We're going to put a little oil there. Flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Okay. That brings us down to the spool, and I believe I already did this drag, but we'll pop it out anyway just so you can see how it comes out and what you're going to have if you mess with it. Okay. Yep, I guess I haven't done it. All right, we're gonna go ahead and clean out inside. There we go. This drag washer here is a hard drag washer, and I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on it just to kind of keep it a little bit pliable, even though it's kind of a hard surface anyway. Okay, underneath, we're gonna have this keyed washer that goes on top of that washer. Then we've got these hard Teflon washers. That's going to go in. Next is going to go this eared washer. It's got the two ears. That goes in like so. Then going to go another Teflon washer. And then finally the last keyed washer. And let's see about getting the spring back in. Okay, with the spring back in, I can go ahead and set the line back on here, and there's nothing here to oil underneath this plastic clicker. So we'll go ahead and set that in place, roll the spool around a little bit until it drops down. There we go. Tighten down the drag. Oh yeah, that's nice. And I managed to get the line tangled up inside it. Didn't take long, did it? There we go. Drag works, anti-reverse override works. Hang on. Anti-reverse isn't working. Got something wrong. All right, I had this all back apart once, or all together, and it didn't work. The anti-reverse wouldn't work. And it took me a while to figure it out. And what I ended up finding was I was missing a shim right here. The anti-reverse didn't work when I first got it. I thought it was just gummed up. But I was missing a shim here, and apparently what was happening is when I would tighten down the rotor on top, it would pull this down and it would squeeze it, and it would keep the anti-reverse from working. So I've added a shim right here, and it's a that is a 0.5 millimeter shim, okay? And now we're gonna put this on here, and okay, as I said earlier in the video, I had already been back through this and put it all back together once, and I had difficulty because the anti-reverse didn't work. Now I've got it functional because I added that shim in. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of grease right here on this drag washer up top. I slip the spool on, like so, and tighten down the drag. Okay, slam bell works. Everything about the reel works now. The fold down handle works. Okay, the anti-reverse override works. The anti-reverse works. The drag works, and the slam bell slams. So all I've got left to do now to be able to take this to the coast is going to be to strip off the line and add new line, and this Daiwa GS-6 is going to be ready to go fishing. As much fun as that was, when all was said and done, turns out that the paint on this reel was just absolute garbage. That copper paint that I was using just would not hold up. It was coming off all in my hands. It was coming off everywhere. So I stripped the reel back down. I sprayed it down with brake cleaner. And in 15 seconds, I had a half empty can and absolutely no paint left on the reel. So I repainted it, and I'll show you guys the end result. I decided to go back to the gold. The gold paint is much sturdier. It held up better. So that's what I'm going to use. Okay, here's the gold paint repaint, and it looks much better. I'm still missing this side badge that goes on this side. I don't have one, so I'm having to live without one for this side. I thought about painting this black just to kind of make it blend in, but maybe one day I'll come up with a badge for that. As for the rest of the reel, hey, it all performs like it's supposed to. Anti-reverse override works. The bail trips beautifully. The drag works. And I plan to go down to Corpus Christi in a couple of weeks, and this is going to go into my saltwater box. I'm planning to fish this one. I've got to still change out the line. I'm going to put some new line on it. But as soon as I get my box cut out, I'll show you how that turned out. Okay, got the case done. It's ready to go. This was a $5 case I picked up at a yard sale. It's for photo equipment, sporting goods, anything you want. I'm going to use it for fishing reels. So I'm going to show you what I've done with the insides of it. Okay, the box is foam filled, and on the right hand side is the GS-90 reel that we repainted and redid for the coast, and on this side over here is the GS-6 that we did. I've got enough room that I might be able to fit another small reel in here, but I don't know if I will or not. For now, this is what's going to the coast with me. I'm going to try to find another case for 2 more reels. I think I'm going to put a Mitchell 302 and a Mitchell 306 into those cases, unless I can fit the 306 into here. I've got to look and see. As expected, the Mitchell 306 fit in as well. Before you guys start having a hissy fit, this is not an original color on this Mitchell 306. I plan to do a video where we do the repaint on this one. This was missing almost all of its paint, and I just felt like painting it gold to match the other 2 that I go to the coast with. So this is the 308, the GS-90, and the GS-6 ready to go. All I have to do is put new line. Each of these need new line. So I'm going to put new line on each of them, and they're going to be ready to go to the coast. And for now, that ends this video on the GS-6.